Good afternoon. Welcome to Channel 8 Sports and East Brunswick High School football. Hi, I'm John Meggiolaro, being joined by Jim Allinder and Phil Hill for today's game, East Brunswick J.P. Stevens. Jimmy, as we look at East Brunswick, they come in with a 2-3 record. A big game for them in this conference. More importantly, they have Madison Central next week.
That's right. These games with J.P. Stevens today and Madison Central next week are going to be character builders. And I say that because essentially East Brunswick has been eliminated from the playoff competition as early as I can remember, since actually the first year that Marcus Borden took over as coach. So East Brunswick is going to be playing for character is what they're going to be playing for. They cannot do any better than a, I guess, 6-3 record if they go unbeaten for the rest of this year. So what's the incentive to keep on going? I think these are the types of games that really can build something for an athlete. To be able to play just to win and to accomplish something, even when there's nothing to shoot for, makes this a very, very interesting game. And besides that, J.P. Stevens, as Phil will allude to, will offer anything and everything in the way of a rivalry. It's probably maybe beyond Madison Central these days. J.P. Stevens still is a very interesting game.
And Phil, we talk about Stevens, and they come in with a very quiet, if you will, 3-1 record.
Well, they come in with a 3-1 record after an opening loss to Shawnee where they got blown out. They've been in every game since then, and it's a winning record. They're 3-0 in the conference. I beg to differ with you guys. I believe they play Piscataway next week. So I say that because Tony Simonelli was concerned about playing on a Sunday. He felt that threw his team off psychologically. They were prepared to play Friday, and now they have to play on a Sunday. He's concerned about that. I wouldn't be too concerned about it, though. I think it's just, again, coach talk. Of course, Tony Simonelli always presents a team that is well coached, very knowledgeable, and has good balance. It should make for, as all East Brunswick J.P. Stevens games do, an excellent game.
Yeah. So we look forward to it. Another East Brunswick J.P. Stevens High School matchup here, and we'll be back with the start of the action in just a moment. Well, good afternoon and welcome to East Brunswick High School football. Today is homecoming, this game between East Brunswick and J.P. Stevens, and it's a beautiful fall afternoon, a Sunday in fact. Playing here due to the rains that came last week.
I look at the field, John, and you'd never know it rained.
No.
Boy, they just do an admirable job here getting this field in shape. Boy, just look at that picture on your screen. Some nice fluffy clouds, sunshine. Phil, is the wind going to be a factor today?
The wind will not be a factor. I asked.
You asked.
I'll tell you, it is one of the nicest fall days that we've had this year, and it's a great football day. And as we said at the top, that anytime J.P. Stevens and East Brunswick gets together, it's it's going to be an exciting day.
Well, you see Troy White and number 7 and number 40 Greg Rulo for East Brunswick, captains, out at the center of the field.
Phil, who should we watch for with Stevens offensively?
Well, they've had some injuries, but Block is going to start at quarterback. Jeff Block. They have two quarterbacks. Jeff Block, he runs the option very well, and then they have their other quarterback is Jeff Darnowski, and he passes the ball better. So they'll be flip-flopping these guys from time to time. But Cal McKenzie is a hard runner, and then they have a young sophomore named Wayne Settles who's going to get some time in the backfield. You're going to have to watch for him as well.
Okay. East Brunswick, of course, John. A lot of the offense evolves around Troy White, the quarterback, last week in that 31-21 victory over Piscataway, which Marcus Borden called East Brunswick's most impressive performance this year. White accounted for over 300 yards in offense, just was really the key.
Looks as though East Brunswick has won the toss, and they'll receive. They'll be moving right to left. They're in the home green. And if there is any wind, it's coming across the field. It would be from the East Brunswick side across to the Stevens side. So East Brunswick will go on offense. Jimmy, anything, any changes you expect for East Brunswick offensively?
I can't believe that East Brunswick's going to change its attack. I think it's fair to say that you don't know what they're going to open up with, because the passing attack was just very effective last week with R.J. Davis catching 3 touchdown passes, and White rolling out, finding a lot of room, and he just was hot. He's a hot player. And, of course, the running game is dependable with Rulo and Pichar, excuse me. So, and I understand that, and you can see it right there, number 19 is Varnell Johnson. I understand, Phil, that he's going to be a more used player this day.
He definitely is. He's going to start defensively in the defensive backfield, and he's definitely, you got to believe he's going to see some offensive play as well. And from everything we understand, he's a burner.
Sophomore.
Well, that's Johnson 19 and Pilato 42, awaiting the kickoff of number 42. That's Juan Ferrero for Stevens, and we're about ready to get this game underway. Long-standing rivalry, East Brunswick, J.P. Stevens, and this will be Johnson. His first carry from the 7-yard line. Goes right up the middle, nice run.
Great cut.
Oh.
And he crosses the 35, and East Brunswick will have good field position.
Well, I'll tell you, Jimmy, you said Marcus was a little bit excitable when talking about Varnell Johnson, and that's his baptism right there, and he's done, looks like he's got the moves.
You know, just from that kickoff return, you can tell the guy has burners, and he has an instinct for making the right cuts at the right time. It should be interesting to watch him play.
1st and 10 for the Bears. Ball on their own 37. First offensive series. White at quarterback. They come out with that full house backfield, or wishbone backfield. White keeps it, and he's going to be dropped for a loss to about the 31.
And that's Kel McKenzie on the tackle there. And you're going to see him in there a lot. He's probably the most aggressive player that J.P. Stevens has. Him and Nunez, 2 real fireballs.
Yeah, the key today is going to be East Brunswick's offensive line being able to keep out Stevens, no doubt.
2nd and 15 from the East Brunswick 32. White lost 5 yards on the play. He'll keep it and roll left. He's got Casanelli behind him. Good run by Troy White, still on his feet, and he's close to a first down. Let's see if they move the chains.
I think they're going to give it to him.
And I tell you, whether they give it to him or not, I've become a Troy White fan. I saw him against Piscataway, and I tell you, it was truly one of the remarkable, the show that he put on that day. So he's getting better with each game.
Well, your coach, the coach agreed. He said it was one of the best performances by an East Brunswick quarterback in quite a few years. Well, that's really saying a lot.
That's saying a whole lot, but it was a super performance by the young man.
The chains are brought across for the measurement. And East Brunswick has it, 1st and 10. The ball will be spotted at the East Brunswick 47.
That was a fine recovery from that 5-yard loss, so you can give him 15 yards on that run.
So East Brunswick's picking up where they left off last week against Piscataway, a game they won 31-21. White. That's Christensen, number 34. He'll pick up a yard.
And Dominic Cree on the tackle. He switches off with Dan Nunez. Nunez will come in there at the middle, at nose tackle when the Bears go into their passing formation, the spread formation, because he's a little bit quicker than Cree. But Cree is tough on the run, number 62.
2nd and 9 for the Bears. The ball on their own 48. No score. We've just started play. White, low reverse to Davis.
They got room here.
He's got some room, gets a good block.
Nice cut.
Davis still on his feet, crosses midfield. And I thought maybe a flag was going to be thrown for a holding down here, but East Brunswick got away with it.
Good blocking. R.J. Davis coming into his own. Again, another young man that had a super game last week. 3 touchdowns, kicked the field goal, and several extra points. He's a junior, developing. He can only get better.
Davis picks up about 6. It'll be 3rd and 4.
East Brunswick will certainly want to get Davis more involved in the offense.
White keeps it, follows his fullback, falls forward. I think he's going to be short of the first down.
I would imagine East Brunswick will want to go for this with about a half yard to go. Boy, it's close. It really is close.
Say 4th and about a yard. Ball is spotted on the Stevens 44-yard line. So they're going to go for it, 4th and 1.
Be interesting to see where White tries to exploit the line for Stevens.
That's Rulo, and Rulo's got the first down.
Well, he gave it to the fullback, and that's what you want to do in a short yard situation. If your fullback can't pick up a yard, then they shouldn't be at the fullback position.
Right. I was quite interested that it was on the right side of the Stevens line, Phil.
So East Brunswick's putting together a well-conceived drive here to start this ball game off. They have it 1st and 10 on the Hawks 42. White will roll left. Keeps. And it's turned upside down. And maybe he got back to the line of scrimmage. We'll see where they mark it.
And that was Wayne Settles making a tackle, and he's a sophomore. And very rare that a sophomore plays with Tony Simonelli team. Usually you have to pay your dues.
White loses a yard. It'll be 2nd and 11 from the 43 of Stevens. He'll sprint right and is dragged down, pitches the ball. It's on the ground and finally fallen on. I don't know who it was. Let me see. And that was Johnson who fell on the ball.
Yeah, what's happening? It looks like Stevens is finding some lanes, Phil, and sending in either Settle or McKenzie. They're getting good penetration. Another one that's getting in there, I believe, is number 14, Darnowski, who is the 2nd-string quarterback. So you watch the Stevens linebackers and defensive backs. They're shooting the gap, trying to prevent East Brunswick from going anywhere.
3rd and 19 for the Bears. They'll have the trips to the left. White goes in shotgun. Ball on their own 48. White looking to his left. Tosses it out here to Christensen, and he'll be way short of the first down. He gets into Hawks territory.
And number 34, Christensen, didn't pick up much yardage there, but anytime they go into the spread formation where they have the trips, he'll be back there. Marcus said he's back there for his blocking ability, but you got to believe he's also back there because he has good hands coming out of the backfield.
It should be Staley punting.
It is. Drew Staley, number 99, will do the punting. Good snap. Gets a low kickoff. It's going to be fielded by
very nice
Settle.
coverage.
And Settle is dragged down inside the 10-yard line.
Sure, Ted Lang, number 39, was quick down there on the coverage. Was able to avoid the block and make the tackle. So Stevens is deep in their own territory.
So no score, first period, 7:23 left to go.
Well, East Brunswick was able to grind out 2 first downs in that drive.
Hawks will go on offense for the first time this afternoon. Again, they come in with a 3-1 record. East Brunswick 2-3. This is Block at quarterback. McKenzie and Settle in the backfield, I formation. Block still has it. Looks like a forward lateral, no problem though. Gets it off to, I believe that was Settle.
I'll tell you, John, you're right on that call there. It clearly looked like a forward pass. The official standing right there, however, so.
Well, is that legal?
Well, actually, it's like a shuttle
it's
pass.
A pass is what it is.
Oh, actually, you can do it then,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. They only get 2 yards out of that, or 2.5.
Hawks will have it 2nd and 8 now on their own 15. Block calling signals. Sprints to his left. He'll keep it. And gets
Dragged
back
down.
to maybe the line of scrimmage.
Sure. Looks like Anthony Billings.
Young man we talked about a lot last week who's coming on, filled in at that linebacker spot where the Super Matt Pazinkel used to be, and he's done the job.
Yes, he has. He was able to get settled there that time very nicely.
It's apparent, Phil, at least from the first 2 plays, that Stevens doesn't have the team speed that we're so accustomed to seeing.
You're right, John. They had a. I'll tell you in a minute.
All right, block. Looking, little sprint, looking to throw the ball. He's going to be dropped. The ball's loose and recovered by Stevens.
They'll call it down, though, John.
But again, a major loss for J.P. Stevens.
Right, excellent penetration.
I'll tell you, the Bear defense looks very super. Stevens is without one player, a kid named Kyle Mosley. The name Mosley at J.P. Stevens is synonymous with speed.
Yes.
His sisters and brothers, hurdlers, super speed, but the young man's out today. But you got to give East Brunswick defense credit there. They're just swarming all over.
All right, Stevens will be in a 4th down punting formation. That's Ferrero, the number 42. Back is Pilato and Casanelli. Good snap. He's kicking from his end zone. Gets off a fairly good kick.
Should get on this real quick.
Casanelli will pick it up at the 45, sidesteps a few tacklers, and gets across the 40 into Stevens territory. East Brunswick will have excellent field position.
Well, credit the East Brunswick defense with a nice set of series there. In the exchange of punts, East Brunswick comes out on top, and now they have themselves with a good opportunity here to get some points here in the first quarter.
1st and 10 for the Bears on the Stevens 37. 4:40 remains here in the first period, no score. And they come out into that wide open offense. Shotgun, trips to the right. White has run from it, and he's going to be dropped for a loss.
All right, that was Brad Divuk, a senior tackle that was able to penetrate.
And Cale McKenzie, number 48, also over there once again.
White loses about 8 yards.
Looks like Stevens is winning the war of penetration on the line so far, Phil.
Well, defensively, like all Stevens teams, they're going to be tough. And
linebackers look big, tell you what.
2nd and 16. The trips are to the left as White looks. Quarterback draw right up the middle. And he'll get close to the original line of scrimmage.
And I tell you, you can give that spread formation credit for White picking up that yardage there. When you spread a team out like that, they got to give up something in the middle. East Brunswick Bears just took advantage of it that time.
The Bears will be facing a 3rd down, 3rd and 10.
Now, if White has time to throw here, he's got a bevy of receivers. Davis is to the right. You've got number 10 here, Brian Tenora, to the left. Whoops, looks like Davis left early.
Looking for Davis on a look-in right off his hands.
I'll tell you, super pass by Troy White. Hit Davis in the hands. Davis stretching his body out but not able to hold on to it.
I think you're right, Jim. Davis was already in the secondary before the ball was snapped.
They didn't call it.
So the Bears will face a 4th and 10. And Staley's back out once again to punt.
Staley has shown some excellent ability to get the ball, control his punts. I would not be surprised to see him try to get in the coffin corner here.
Nice kick there, looking for the corner. It's going to bounce inside to 10.
Great kick.
And so Stevens will be deep in their own territory once again.
Drew Staley. Of course, with Brian Forte being the punter for, I guess, the better part of 3 years,
right.
Staley never had an opportunity, but he has really come on well. And this is senior year.
Bears will go on defense. It's 1st and 10 for the Hawks. The ball on their own 7-yard line. We have 3:15 left here in the first period. No score. Block at quarterback.
Ooh.
Flag is thrown. That was, I believe, Quozy, number 38.
Preliminary indication is motion on the part of Stevens. If I was East Brunswick, I'd refuse this. Looks like they've thrown Stevens for about a 2-yard loss.
You're right, Jim. Illegal motion against the Hawks. Decline will bring up a 2nd down.
I tell you, and Jay Adocio, nevertheless, he's there. He's a sophomore. We got to remember that. 155 pounds, and he's in there with those larger guys, and he's doing the job.
Right over top of the center.
Hawks lose a yard. It's 2nd and 11 from their 6-yard line. Block keeps. I'm sorry, little counter inside. And that was settled.
Well, it just doesn't seem that Stevens can get started here. East Brunswick, too, is having good penetration in the middle.
Well, I tell you, the way they're running it, you got to believe that perhaps they're trying to set up the Bears, keeping everything uptight in the middle and then maybe trying to pop something quick.
Well, it certainly is something that Stevens is noted for. Time and time again, East Brunswick has gotten them deep in their own territory, and then that short pop pass is open, and somebody like Settle could just take it all the way.
That's right.
So you have to watch for that.
The official going to both huddles. I don't know what that's about, but they're getting ready to start.
It'll be 3rd and 7 for the Hawks. Ball on their own 10. Block looking to throw. Under pressure. Intercepted, Casanelli. And Casanelli be pulled down inside the 5-yard line.
Great anticipation. Casanelli was looking for that pass right across the middle.
I'll tell you,
I think that's something that's East Brunswick had scouted with Stevens.
Well, Block clearly is not the passing quarterback. They have another quarterback, Darnowski, who throws the ball much better, but you got to give East Brunswick credit. Casanelli in the right place at the right time. And this East Brunswick Bear defense is getting better with each down.
Oh, no doubt about it. That was an opportunistic interception if there ever was one.
1st and goal for the Bears on the Hawks 4-yard line.
Straight ahead.
White keeps, follows the fullback. It's dropped at about the 2-yard line.
Great second effort on the part of White. He was stopped behind the line of scrimmage and just was able to keep it for another 3 yards, and they're close to the goal line now.
2-yard line. That's where the Bears will have it. 2nd down. 1:20 left, first period. Inside, that's Rulo. Is he in?
He's down to the 1-inch line.
He's in. Greg Rulo, number 40.
Late call, but nonetheless, East Brunswick puts it in. And you notice that the Bears were not going to try any trickery that time. They're going to go straight up the middle and play it safe.
So Greg Rulo from 2 yards out gets East Brunswick on the board first.
And you had to expect that call. You remember earlier on 4th down, they went to Rulo to pick up an all-important long yard. And
that's right.
He came right back here and picked up important yardage there for the touchdown.
Carnes on for the extra point. Kick is up and good, and East Brunswick is now on top 7-0.
All important first points for East Brunswick. We know from what we've seen thus far that defense could play a major part in this game. East Brunswick only able to get that touchdown after Casanelli intercepts and returns it about 12 yards, gets the East Brunswick Bears a first down on the 4-yard line, and they take it in from there.
But I tell you, Jimmy, they look like a confident team, both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball.
Yes, they have.
There's certain air out there that looks like they feel very confident.
Well, I mentioned that at the top of this game that they're playing really for character, and they're showing a lot of it at this point, no doubt about it.
All right, Carnes getting ready to kick it off. Settles in the middle. He's the guy they want to get the ball to or have run with the ball. Carnes, good kick. Settle at about the 10-yard line. Fakes the reverse, goes up the left side. Flag is thrown.
Ooh. And I think it's going to be a clip called on Stevens. Kind of a late call. A lot of extracurricular activity out there, as you normally see with a Stevens-East Brunswick game. But the players are hitting extra hard today.
And they always respect each other.
It is clipping, so it'll move the Hawks back.
Right. Carnes was the recipient of that clip, by the way.
And Stevens is yet to start an offensive series from their own 20.
That's right. They've been back. They've had their backs to the wall, and they haven't responded yet.
Right. They've tried to establish a running game, and thus far East Brunswick has been very effective in cutting it down.
It'll be 1st and 10 from the 15. The Hawks trail 7-0 with 50 seconds left here in the first period. Split backfield now for J.P. Stevens. Block looking. He's looking to throw deep down the middle.
Ooh.
Looking for number 80. That's McCann.
Jason McCann. He had to step on everyone.
Well, Johnson took the bite on that one, and he's going to have to watch himself.
Bring up a 2nd down for the Hawks.
You might watch out for Juan Ferrero, number 42.
He split wide to the right.
I formation, and there's movement.
Juan Ferrero.
Among others, really.
So field position is really hurting Stevens thus far, and certainly the penalty isn't going to help either.
I'll tell you, they don't look like a J.P. Stevens team at this juncture anyway. They're usually one of the best coach teams there is in the county, and they're making an awful lot of mistakes.
2nd and 15, the ball is spotted on the Hawks 10.
Well, you have to believe that Stevens is going to be in a passing situation here.
I formation. Block, hands off to McKenzie.
So they hand it off. And it wasn't even trickery.
Bring up a 3rd and picked up maybe 2, so let's say 3rd and 13.
And I tell you, Jay Adocio again.
Yeah.
55, 155 pounds, and doing the job.
5 seconds left in the period. And I don't think they'll get this play off. And they'll switch the ends of the field. So East Brunswick at the end of 1 on top, 7-0.
Some fine play by the East Brunswick team all around. I want to mention some of those names in the interior of the line. Of course, Scott Bernardi, number 69, has been a mainstay this year. Some other players, of course, Pichar has been an important linebacker. Scott Kammer, one of the other linebackers. Doshio, we mentioned him.
I'll tell you, and you're talking about Marv Wolfscale, number 56.
Another important player.
Another sophomore, again, doing the job.
Nice crowd here for a Sunday.
And when play resumes, it'll be 3rd and about 14 for the Hawks. The ball is resting on their own 11-yard line. They trail 7-0.
Third down. Boy, I have to tell you, if I was East Brunswick, I'd send them in, Phil.
Well, they're probably going to send them, but they're going to be a little careful too. They, notice Block is still at quarterback. Again, we mentioned Jeff Darnowski is the better passer of the two. But they're going to stick with Block.
Here we go, I formation for the Hawks. Long 3rd down situation.
McKenzie's deep.
Block rolls to his right, looking for some protection.
That looks like Darnowski right there.
Flag is thrown in the backfield.
Phil, I'm sorry, Jeff. It is Jeff Block, number 18. It's hard to see the numbers.
Block.
Another flag. Another flag.
East Brunswick will probably decline this.
Blocking below the waist is the call.
Setting up a 4th down as we start the 2nd period.
They are just not letting J.P. Stevens get out of the block, if you know what I mean.
Phil, there may be, something to what Simonelli said. Maybe this team is out of sync a little bit playing on a Sunday.
I think it may initially throw you off, but then you got to adjust.
Certainly with the stakes that Stevens has, 3-1, they're still very much in the thick of the playoff race.
Ferrero back to punt. Casanelli and Pilato back deep for the Bears.
Let's watch the wind on this.
From his end zone, gets a good punt off. Casanelli will field it. Fakes the reverse and is nailed.
There's the flag.
Hit right around the head.
Yeah, that was very obvious. An East Brunswick player came back and pushed a Stevens player. It's a block above the waist or below the waist. Call it what you want. They'll call it a clip.
I'll tell you, Jason McCann, number 80, not taking the fake and nailing Casanelli.
So the ball will be moved back into East Brunswick territory. And East Brunswick lose good field position.
Of course, one of the drawbacks with the reverse is when you field the ball, you have only so many seconds to move the ball upfield, and by reversing it, you waste that time. And there's a situation where it did not work for East Brunswick.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Bears on their own 44. Shotgun formation, trips to the right. White looking, he's thrown deep for Davis, R.J. Davis, broken up nicely, though, by number 42, Ferrero.
Well, I tell you, actually, R.J. Davis had to come back and play defender there because Ferrero had a bead on it, and he was about to intercept it.
Right. Really a nice play by Davis when you think about it.
And I tell you, this is the second time we've seen the trips go to one side and one receiver on the other side, and they go to that one receiver. So they're trying to catch Stevens off balance.
Well, I think they're looking for that man-to-man on Davis. 2nd and 10, same formation. White looks quickly, a little quick screen out here to Lung.
He has blocking.
And Lung will get up near midfield.
Teddy Long with an attempt at a straight arm, a lost art. You just don't see it in high school football that much.
Got himself about, what, 7 yards on that?
We'll call it 3rd and 3 for the Bears. Ball just over midfield into J.P. Stevens territory. Spotted at the 49. The trips are now to the left.
Here's your 4 wide receivers that East Brunswick likes.
White looking to his left.
Oh,
hits
nice reception.
Lung, I believe.
Right, he holds on.
He did well to hold on. Matter of fact, he looked like he was almost hit before the ball got there.
And he's got the first down.
Right, he knew he was going to get hit, too. Just the velocity was not there in the pass, so he knew he was going to get hit.
Good concentration.
So they'll move the chains. East Brunswick will have it 1st and 10 with 10:35 left here before halftime. They're on top 7-0 against J.P. Stevens.
Boy, they really have them spread out here with these four receivers.
White looks to his right, throws. He's got Tenora. Tenora picks up about 9.
East Brunswick is picking up right where it left off against Piscataway last week.
They were hot and it continues. Brian Tenora with a nice catch there.
Stevens, totally confused.
Tenora of basketball fame?
Yes.
Okay.
Second and a long one for the Bears. Ball on the 36 of Stevens. Trips go left this time. Davis to the right. Quarterback draw. White right up the middle's got the first down. Taken down at about the 35-yard line.
I'll tell you, Troy White, Troy White is not fast, but he is quick. He has quick feet, and those quick feet work well for him. He is just shifty.
Right, well, East Brunswick is taking advantage of the spread out situation. White saw the opening and he took it.
1st and 10 for the Bears on the 30-yard line of Stevens. Here's another quick out to Lung. Nice move.
I'll tell you what, this is fun to watch. It
well,
really
I tell you, they got it clicking. I mean, they got it clicking, and they have Stevens clearly off balance. They go into the spread formation. Troy White can run off it. He can hit short. He can hit long, and that's the way it's supposed to work, to keep the team off balance, and they're doing exactly that.
Right, not to be lost in this is East Brunswick is not dropping any passes either. They're technically sound in this drive.
Pick up a 5 on the last play. 2nd and 5. Ball now at the Stevens 25. White looks to his right. Looking in the corner for Lung. Overthrown. He had Rule out there as well.
Not a bad call.
Well, a little too much mustard on it, but you're right. They're mixing it up well.
Right, Stevens is going to have to even be more cautious here. The receivers come in. New ones.
3rd and 5. East Brunswick on top 7-0, looking to add to that lead. The trips come to the right. White has trouble with the snap. It's a low snap. He rolls to his right, steps up.
Gosh, the cut's going to give him the first down.
And he'll get it. I think he's got enough for the first.
And he would have picked up more. He's just tackled from the backside by a tackle. Brad Divock, number 76.
Well, they're calling him short. It's going to be 4th and about a foot.
Well, let's see if we're consistent today with the call for the fullback on short yardage downs. They've been able to pick it up for a touchdown and an all-important first down. Let's see if they do it again.
Going to have to get this off. This should be straight up the middle here.
Wishbone backfield. White takes it himself. A flag is thrown.
What are they calling here? And our official is pointing to an East Brunswick player.
Could be holding.
can't imagine how, John. It was such a quick bang-bang play.
It's got to be the center.
Wow.
It is against East Brunswick. It'll move them back.
Unfortunate.
And now a 4th down. What do you do? Field goal?
Boy, look where they're placing that ball. If that's a 10-yard penalty.
And they're going to try for the field goal.
And Ian Kearns comes in, and he's been a story. I mean, John, we saw the first game of the year, albeit win-aided, but he set a school record, and we really haven't heard from him since. Granted, he's been sick a couple times, but
this is 46 yards, I believe.
Carnes looking to add 3. Good snap. Kick is up. It's low. Never get there. And so the ball will be turned over to Stevens.
Well, East Brunswick needing only 9 yards on that play. The way they were moving, John, Phil, I thought they would have gone for it.
They might have kept it, huh? Well, they got to find out. They got to give Kearns some action, during action. So they took a chance.
Well, on the other side of the coin, East Brunswick has shown good ability to stop Stevens, so nothing lost there, really, when you think about it.
We have 8:07 left here in the second period. East Brunswick on top, 7-0. Stevens will have it 1st and 10 on their own 29. This is the best field position they've had all game. Block, still quarterbacking, looks, throws it out in the flat to Quozy. Quozy stays on his feet and spins and will pick up about 6 yards.
John Cozy, number 38, showing some good hard running there.
And that might be the best gain that Stevens has had all day.
So it'll be 2nd and 4 for Stevens. Hawks come out with that I formation. Block gives it to McKenzie. McKenzie will have the 1st down.
And I tell you, see him, that was a straight dive there, but they run that veer, and it's very similar to the wishbone, except that fullback's not in position there. And both offenses call for some reading by the quarterback. We'll talk a little bit more about what J.P. Stevens does with the read.
1st and 10, the ball on the Hawk 31. Block keeps it. And he'll pick up about 4 yards.
And Pat Castanelli on the tackle there. I was talking about the read, John. Simonelli says that his quarterbacks read everything, but they don't try to read the tackle. They just block down on him all the time. They tried to read the defensive end. He feels that it's asking too much to ask a young quarterback to read everything. Everybody's not adept as Madison Central is.
Let's call it 2nd and 6 for the Hawks. Ball on their own 35. They trail 7-0. Cozy again. He'll pick up 2.
Nice tackle. Tom Germain, I believe that is.
Tom Germain, right.
Right. So a lot of juniors, underclassmen being used by Marcus.
I'll tell you, Marcus Borden has got a lot of young players, and he's developed them under action, and
sure,
they're going to be reckoned with in the future.
3rd and 4, a big 3rd down for the Hawks. Block.
I think they stopped him.
Gives it to, I think that was Settle, but he's short.
Boy, just some real tough play down there.
I tell you, got Scott.
German was in on it again.
And Scott Kammer as
right.
well.
And it looks like Stevens will punt. It'll be 4th and a yard.
Boy, the East Brunswick defense has just looked really excellent this half.
Oh, I take that back. They're going to go for it. No, I'm sorry. I saw a block in there. I thought maybe.
Okay, looks like Johnson's going to be deep.
Ferrero is back to punt. Johnson will drop back. Ferrero gets off the kick. Johnson will field it at his own 30.
Ooh.
Bobbles it. The
Ooh.
ball's loose.
Who has
Still,
it?
and I think Stevens has it. They do.
Right. Johnson really never had a handle on that one.
I'll tell you, never had a handle. Looking upfield, first you got to get the ball, and it's the young man's first action, really getting the feel for that ball back there, and he's got to be a little bit nervous. He also has to want to show off his stuff as well, and it cost him this time.
Right. So that's East Brunswick's first turnover.
Stevens will have it in best field position of the day for him thus far. 5-12. It's 1st and 10 on the East Brunswick 34. I formation behind block. Same setup as we've seen. This is Cozy. Cozy spins, still on his feet.
Right, he
Picks
was
up
nailed.
4.
He was nailed after about 2 yards, but he just kept on going.
He's a tough runner. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the Bears are going to react to giving Stevens such great field position.
Well, you can't fault the defense on that one, that's for sure. They're playing their steady game.
They give Cozy 5 yards, so it's 2nd and 5. Ball now on the East Brunswick 29. Pitch, this is Cozy to the left side this time. Casanelli pulls him down.
Just an excellent play by Casanelli.
He played that about as well as anyone could play it. Played off the tackle and reached out and saved some good yardage.
Really, Stevens only got 2 yards out of that. That had all the makings of some big time yards.
Bring up 3rd down. 3rd and let's call it about 5.
No, this is 2 down territory.
Ball on the East Brunswick 27.
Fumble
block. He falls on it, but it's going to bring up a 4th down.
And you can bet that Stevens will be going on this play. Block just didn't have a handle on it. And here's the call coming in from Simonelli. Phil
4th
Stevens
and a long
is,
4.
I'm sorry, John. Stevens has been keeping everybody in tight except for one wideout.
Right. You might look for
Settle.
You might look for Settles here too if they're going to put the ball. They're probably going to put the ball up.
Settles wide right, number 28. Split backfield. Block keeps. He's looking. He's looking for Settle. He dumps it off to Cozy. Cozy's got the 1st down and is nailed by Johnson.
Well,
I'll tell you.
Good hit, but still was a 1st down.
They picked up the 1st down, but Varnell Johnson probably still smarting from that fumble. Just laid one on Cozy that time. That's probably one of the hardest hits we've seen this year. Ooh.
Stevens picks up the 1st down, and the drive continues now. Thought that Stevens was going to be caught in the backfield there, but Block was just able to launch that pass out.
1st and 10 from the 18-yard line of East Brunswick. McKenzie takes it right up the gut.
Wow, talking about gut, I think it's gut check time now, John. I mean, Stevens is starting to move the ball on the Bears. The Bears have shown an ability to stop them. They have to suck it up and maybe even gamble a little bit, but they got to stop Stevens. Momentum is starting to come on the Hawks side.
McKenzie picks up 3. It'll be 2nd and 7. Nation. Inside. That's Cozy. He's going to be snuffed out, though. Petchar hit him first and slow him down.
Yeah, and key play right there. Petchar held his ground and was able to at least make the hit, slowing up the runner, and the rest of the defense came back, and Stevens has a loss now. And it probably puts them out of field goal range if they don't. They're going to call a timeout here, John.
I'll tell you, they tried an inside trap there, and everything got clogged up. You're right. Petchar coming up nice to slow things down, and Casanelli and company.
Exactly, and the defensive line penetrated, probably taking some chances like you mentioned, Phil. But they paid off that time.
So timeout for Stevens. We have 1:26 left here in the second period.
Phil, you mentioned that the momentum was kind of changing. Probably a little bit. That's all I'm going to grant. I think East Brunswick's defense has been playing steady this entire game. Just credit Stevens with being able to come up with a trick play there towards the end to get that first down. Other than that, I think the Bear defense has played outstanding.
Well, they have. They simply have. I tell you, Jimmy, as you look down at the field right there and you look at the East Brunswick huddle, well, there's something that East Brunswick's doing that you'll never catch the Hawks doing. Can you tell me what it is?
Not a chance.
I need
a bigger hint.
That you'll never see the Hawks do.
Never see the Hawks do.
I'll take a guess. Taking water on the field?
No. In all the years, from years gone way back when I played against them, they never take off their helmets.
Yeah.
They never take off their helmets. Their helmets are always kept on. It's part of their tradition. On the sidelines, before games, after games, their helmets are always kept on. Interesting.
Even when you played against them?
Even when I played against them back in 02.
In the 20s? The 20s, huh? I didn't know they had helmets.
They didn't have, well, they had the leather ones there.
By the way, Phil, I think we'll mention we haven't mentioned your alma mater much this year, South River, but they are plugging along nicely this year.
They're not doing badly. They're undefeated. They've
4-0-1.
8 points this year.
All right.
Big play for the Hawks. 3rd and 10. The ball on the East Brunswick 19-yard line. They split the backs. 2 men now wide to the right. And Block will roll right. He's being pressured. Rulo misses. Block throws it. And it was up for keeps. Luckily, the ball fell short.
Boy, you had a bunch of them in there. Rulo first made the hit. Petchar came in and hit him hard enough, Block we're talking about, and was able to slow that pass up.
Really, and that ball was up there to be picked off.
Right. What do you do now if you're Stevens? Calls another timeout.
And you're right, they will. They'll take their second.
They want to think about this one.
A minute 18 left before halftime.
Well, we've seen these situations before with East Brunswick and Stevens.
That's for sure.
You just have to watch it here.
Well, speaking of situations, Jimmy, there's been a lot of memorable situations.
What is this, quiz day today?
But what is your most memorable situation in
I have
in this
2
rivalry?
of them.
Let's hear it.
And they both occurred in the same game. John and I are looking at each other. It was the 1984 Central Jersey State Finals where East Brunswick had a comfortable lead just before halftime. And who was the back?
George Booth.
George Booth. John remembers him.
Right.
George Booth, the all-state back that went on to University of Connecticut. East Brunswick had Stevens back on their own 5-yard line with, I think, about 10 seconds left. Booth runs right down the sidelines to, I believe, tie the game. And then, of course, the last play of that game was when East Brunswick came back, had a 1-point deficit, decided to go for 2 points, and the play, the pass fell. Aaron, I think it was Steve Hughes, the quarterback. You're smiling as if you have another memory.
What year was that?
1984, I believe it was.
1984.
The state playoff game.
Infamous Derrick Rowe pass, right?
Right.
Yeah.
85 was the next year, and as a matter of fact, the 85 playoff game in which Stevens again beat East Brunswick is the last time that J.P. Stevens has beaten East Brunswick. Isn't that something?
Interesting, really.
Especially when you consider that Stevens leads the series 13-6 over the years. The only team that East Brunswick trails.
All right, here goes Stevens. 4th and 10 from the East Brunswick 19. They put in Darnowski at quarterback, number 14, and he's in a shotgun. He drops straight back, gets the ball off down deep, incomplete, and the Bears will take over. And that defense, once again, Phil.
Pressure did it once again, John. Clearly this Darnowski has a stronger arm than Block, but I don't know if it's any more accurate.
Right.
He was reacting to the pressure and just overthrew the ball there.
Right. Just a tremendous effort by the East Brunswick defense this half. I don't think I've seen them better, quite frankly.
A minute 12, and the Bears will have it. It'll be 1st and 10 now on their 19. And it looks like they'll go with the wishbone offense. Rulo, Pilato, and Christensen in the backfield. And this is Pilato, big hole. And he'll pick up 8.
Well, the wishbone offense, of course, not designed for quick scoring, so
well,
I guess East Brunswick's playing conservatively
I think
here.
they're playing it fairly safe. They certainly don't want to put it up and get picked off at this juncture because they're in the driver's seat.
2nd and about 2. That's Christensen, first down.
Almost makes it. Now you wonder if the Bears are going to have a little bit change of heart here, seeing that they have it out of trouble.
I'll tell you.
And they have their timeouts, too.
That's an inside trap there. Somebody on that offensive line is doing a hell of a job blocking.
Clock is running down to 35 seconds. East Brunswick on top 7-0. Second period action. They come out with the bone once again. White fakes, looks, he's looking for Davis in the middle.
Well, the field is open now.
Ooh.
And White will be dropped for a loss. Clock running 15 seconds.
Cale McKenzie showing his stuff once again.
Right, Skirby tried to come up, Matt Skirby, the tackle, tried to come up and apply the block. I think he laid off thinking that he was behind McKenzie and he would have been called for a clip.
And that'll do it. Halftime here at J. Doyle Field. The Bears on top 7-0.
Fine all-around period, half for East Brunswick. They got the points. They were opportunistic off that turnover. Casanelli intercepting the ball. And East Brunswick scoring with just 1:10 left in the first period, John, and then playing the defense the way they should and denying Stevens the entire half.
I'll tell you, they played a super first half, but you got to remember the score is still only 7-0, and that's the thing that frightens you about a J.P. Stevens game.
Sure.
They'll somehow keep themselves in the game right until the end, so it's not over yet.
Well, East Brunswick had that drive going down here at the second period, and a holding penalty moved them out of scoring position. We'll see if that comes back to haunt them. And we'll be back with the third period in just a moment.
like to introduce the King, Queen, and Court of the homecoming of 1989. First, I'd like to introduce Natalie Figaro, escorted by her father, sophomore attendant. Wendy Bykowitz, being escorted by Matt Garnett. And now, the King and Queen of Homecoming 1989, Melissa Berg and Jason Cohen.
Okay, at this time I'd like to congratulate all three classes on a job well done during the homecoming hallway decoration. But of course, the seniors, the class of 1990, has won it for the third year in a row. Right. Okay, just a couple quick announcements. We all invite you to the homecoming dance, October 28th from 8 to 11 o'clock here at East Brunswick High School. Cost is only $3, and all profits will be donated to the class.
Well, now that we have honored the homecoming king and queen, Jim, I know you have some stats on the ball game.
Right, and the most important of which is the 7-0 lead that East Brunswick has at halftime here over J.P. Stevens. In the team statistical area, East Brunswick has 6 first downs to just 2 for J.P. Stevens. And when was the last time that ever happened to a Stevens team held to 2 first downs in a half? Rushing yardage is 39 for East Brunswick to 15 for Stevens. Another revealing statistic, we mentioned that the defense has been playing an excellent game for the Bears, holding Stevens to just 15 on the ground and just 14 through the air. That's 29 total yards. Outstanding job. Troy White has been 5 for 8 in the passing department. Let's see. East Brunswick, of course, did lose a fumble, and they've been penalized twice. And as far as Stevens is concerned, they have had 1 pass intercepted, that being the Pat Casanelli interception, returned to the 4-yard line, and East Brunswick with 2 shots put it over, that being a Greg Rulo 2-yard run at 1:10 left in the first period. As far as individual statistics, Troy Wright had 11 attempts, but a net total of just 12 yards. He did take a number of losses during those, during those rushes. He had a long gainer of 14 yards. Christensen had 2 for 10 yards. Rulo had 2 for 3 yards, with the 1 touchdown coming on the 2-yard run. Give Pilato 1 rush for 8 yards. R.J. Davis on the end around, 6 yards, for a total of 39 net yards, 17 rushes on the ground. East Brunswick certainly holding control. And we mentioned Troy White was 5 for 8 for 28 yards.
Okay, East Brunswick will kick off to start this second half. Stevens will receive. It's 7-0, as Jimmy mentioned, on a 2-yard run by Greg Rulo, that coming in the first period. And that's all the scoring we've had. And I can't help but wonder if there's something lurking. Every time we have one of these East Brunswick J.P. Stevens games, something unusual happens. And it remains to be seen. But you have to be impressed with the East Brunswick defense, as we said right before halftime. Playing an outstanding game. And
well, if they can keep it up for another half.
And the offense is, came alive near the end with that the wide open spread formation, the trips. Looked like White had some time to throw the ball, so we'll see what happens here in the second period. I must say, too, that kicking off is Ian Cairns. And we've been mispronouncing the young man's name. We've been saying Carnes. It's Cairns, and we do apologize to him and his family.
Well, he kicking off. Here he goes.
And this is going to be Block, who will keep it. And doesn't really get that far. Gets up around the 25-yard line.
Right. We haven't heard the name Jesse James gang mentioned this year, but discipline is the word. Each East Brunswick player held their lane, and coming down to make the tackle for the Bears was Dave Christensen, we mentioned. And we'll see if the Bears can keep it up defensively the way they did in the first half.
Well, more importantly, we'll see if J.P. Stevens makes some adjustments to do things better than they did in the first half.
Well, here we go. 1st and 10 for the Hawks. The ball on their own 24. Started the third period. They trail 7-0. They come out in an I formation. Block is the quarterback. Hands off to McKenzie. And McKenzie picks up 9 yards.
That's the long gainer, I think, for Stevens. Somebody down for East Brunswick.
Right.
Phil, you have the glasses down there?
I'm trying to get a beat on it if that official would slide over. It appears to be Wolfskill.
Okay.
Number 56, I believe.
And we had mentioned him. He is just a sophomore. Really just exploded onto the scene. Is he a sophomore?
He is a sophomore.
Yes,
And
5'10", 191. And we hadn't heard his name mentioned prior to this season, but I saw him surface in the opening game against Cherokee. Really did the job there, and nobody's been able to move him out.
Phil Hostler, the trainer, standing over him.
And it looks like they're going to measure this also. The chain gang is sort of hovering off to the side, waiting for Wilkesfeld to be put back on his feet.
It was Wolfskill and Scott Kammerer converging on that tackle, and a big pile up there. And
he's up.
Maybe it is Kammerer.
No, it's
No, it's number 55.
Okay.
That's Adocio.
Adocio. I'm
We
sorry.
were both wrong. Well, he seems to be walking off under his own power.
And on the measurement, Stevens is short, so it'll be 2nd and about a foot to go.
Well, anyway, Phil, we were able to talk about Mark Wolfskill, who
Okay.
is probably in the huddle there.
Right. Well, 2 sophomores. We were close. And
Yeah.
both of them doing a fine job.
Right.
All right, Stevens will have it. 2nd and less than a yard.
They charge to the line.
Ball on their own 34. And despite the numbers, they only trail 7-0 in this game. I formation. McKenzie, he's got the first down and more. Fights his way across the 45.
Right, 2 carries, both for long gainers up the middle. And the way the J.P. Stevens line charged up to the line of scrimmage, I think they had a little bit of a talking to at halftime, Phil.
I'm sure of that.
Right, East Brunswick is going to have to respond, no doubt about it. The line for East Brunswick is going to have to meet that charge by the Stevens line.
Ball spotted on the Hawks 41-yard line. It's 1st and 10. We've just started 3rd period here from J. Doyle Field. They come out again, I formation. Block, fumbles the ball, it's free, and he falls on his own fumble.
I'll tell you, Greg Rulo was there, and Block was fortunate to be able to reach back and recover that ball.
Major loss, though, for Stevens.
But Block has had trouble this afternoon on a couple of those exchanges. credit East Brunswick's defensive line getting in there and causing the problem.
So it looks as though he's reading before he's getting the snap. So he's pulling away just, maybe a second sooner than the snap is coming. Anyway, it's 2nd and 17. JP Stevens on their own 34, and McKenzie dropped right in the backfield.
All right, Wolfskill got in there and disrupted block on the handoff, and that was enough to cause the rest of the line to get in there.
Well, Wolfskill actually hit McKenzie first. He was going for block. Side brushed McKenzie, knocked him down, and then went on and hit block anyway.
So it'll be 3rd and 17.
This is a rejuvenated defense, no doubt about it.
Ball at the 34-yard line of JP Stevens. They split the backs. Ferraro out wide left.
Look at that
and
play.
Block is in trouble. He's going to be dropped for a loss. Petchar was the first one back there.
All right, he's holding his right knee. But he gets up, John.
Appears to be all right. Petchar in there nicely, and Scott Bernardi coming off to finish it off.
What a fine effort by the Bears. 3 consecutive plays there, just totally disrupted Stevens.
So it'll bring up 4th and 25. And Ferraro goes back in punt formation. Back deep is Pilato and Casanelli. Petchar being helped off by Phil Hostler. It looks like a hamstring maybe, holding the back of his leg.
I think he probably got a helmet back there into the muscle. That can be painful.
East Brunswick short a player as Petchar comes off. And we're ready to go.
Well, the way Pilato is flanked to the near side here, you have to expect, again, the reverse will be run.
High snap. Ferraro pulls it down and gets it off. Excellent effort. And East Brunswick will let this ball roll.
Well, it works out in the Hawks' favor
I'll
there.
tell you.
Phil, unlike professional football, I believe any number of linemen can go down on the field on the punt.
Correct.
So what happened was with the high snap, it just gave the punter more time, and more defenders came down for Stevens, so Casanelli had to lay off it.
I'll tell you, give Juan Ferraro, number 42, credit, though. He handled that ball nicely and was able to get the ball off.
All right.
If East Brunswick had been rushing, they probably could have been able to block it.
East Brunswick 1st and 10 from their own 34. White will follow Brullo and gets to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. East Brunswick working out of the shadows on the field, coming across the field now as we get into late afternoon. 8:23 remaining here in the 3rd period. East Brunswick holding on to a very tenuous 7-0 lead. White sprints to his left. Will keep, pitches back now to Casanelli. Casanelli cuts upfield, got the first down.
And you have to like that one, Phil.
I'll tell you like it. It's a, it's a little scary. Troy White pitched back to Casanelli as Casanelli was leaping over a would-be tackler. Casanelli keeping his balance and able to pick up good yards, but sort of dangerous as well.
It's dangerous, but Troy White has improved in that pitch out. The timing as the year has progressed. He was uncomfortable, we have to admit that, before the season began and as he progressed, but he's improved tremendously.
First down, East Brunswick. Casanelli bulls his way for 6 yards.
I'll tell you, pretty counter play there, and Casanelli picking up good yardage.
By the way, that's Casanelli's 2nd consecutive run. He's coming off the field now. It looks like he got banged, but that is the 8th East Brunswick runner this afternoon. So they're using a lot of people.
Ball at the East Brunswick, Stevens 48. This is Rullo.
Who?
And Rullo was a step away. He's got the first down, and East Brunswick starting to grind it out.
Nice gainer there. And the Bears are moving smoothly.
Ball on the Stevens 37, 1st and 10. Wishbone backfield. Pilato. And he knifes his way for about 4 yards. Well, you talked about Stevens getting a little pep talk. I'm sure Borden read some information to these boys as well.
Sure. undoubtedly saying you can't rest on a 7-0 lead, and East Brunswick surely would like to get some more points on the board.
Ball on the Hawk 33 now, 2nd and 5. That's Pechar. Pechar breaks through, first down,
I'll tell you.
close to the 20.
I tell you, they're
Nothing
really
fancy,
moving.
huh, Phil?
Nothing fancy at all. And I tell you who you got to give the credit. The guys up front. You're talking about Brian Nardini, Bill, Natalie, Matt Skirby, Bill Heinlein, Gary Reese, Vincent Giovanni. They're doing the job up front, and that's where it counts.
1st and 10, ball now at the Hawks 22. White will keep this time.
Why not? Everybody else is handling the ball.
He'll pick up 2.
I tell you, you don't want to change a good thing, but they are drawing them in to respect that middle so much. They got to be vulnerable to a quick pop. They got to be.
Even a pass to Davis.
Davis splits out wide right.
Doesn't even have to be a quick one. Just a slant right across the middle. He should be open.
Don't forget, there is a tight end on this team. But here goes Christensen. And he bowls inside the 20-yard line.
Well, Jimmy, you brought up a point before. They're using so many backs, and we haven't even seen Barnell Johnson run yet. They just have a bevy of backs in there.
Well, the only time we did see him was on that loss, that 3-yard loss, if you remember, Phil. It was an unfortunate play there where Varnell happened to be the one that recovered the ball, but still, you don't need to use him.
3rd and 5, the ball on the Stevens 18. White sprints to his left, cuts up.
Great cut.
He needs a block.
Ooh.
He steps through, one tackle, that's it, touchdown, East Brunswick.
18-yard run. Beautiful cut there by Troy White. And he brings it home, and that extends East Brunswick's lead to 13-0. The 18-yard run by White, the biggest gainer this afternoon for the Bears.
And I tell you, what can you say? We're talking about popping, but why change a good thing when they got it going? Troy White has been as impressive these last 2 weeks as any quarterback we've seen this year.
That's correct.
Cairns on for the extra point. Snap is down, kick is up and good. And East Brunswick on top now, 14-0 with 5:22 left here in the 3rd period.
You know, and I'm going over all the runs. I believe that was 10 consecutive running plays on the part of East Brunswick, culminating in Troy White's 18-yard run. A good read there. He saw the opening. And, boy, I'll tell you what, the Bears answered back real quick. Stevens, we thought, was coming out of the gates rather spirited on those first 2 long gainers, but held. The defense came up with 3 nice consecutive plays, forced Stevens to punt. They were able to get the ball, I guess, approximately on their 30-yard line and just ran up the field with it on 10 consecutive running plays.
Very impressive.
And the Bears will kick off now to the Hawks. Cairns, number 3, will do the kicking. Short kick. This will be Settle who'll take it at the 15. Settle across the 30, and that's where the Hawks will take over.
And again, fine defensive play by the kickoff team.
Really, Greg Rouleau making the initial hit.
I think the word that comes to my mind in looking at this performance thus far is discipline. You know, the Bears have only had 2 penalties, neither of which have hurt them to any degree. They haven't been making mistakes that we've seen earlier in the year, especially against Perth Amboy and Edison. And I think that's been the difference thus far.
From the 32, 1st and 10 from the Hawks. Block will sprint and keep, and he's dragged down. 56 for East Brunswick. That's Wolfskell.
Right.
That young man's been all over the place today.
And I think Stevens is, with 4:40 left in the 3rd period, is going to have to start to spread it out more. They can't depend on this ball control offense that they have.
Well, it's clearly not a catch-up. It's much like the wishbone. It's not meant to be a catch-up offense. So.
Yeah. Well, we've only seen that one pass play to McCann that went a little long. And with Block in there, I guess they're still.
Ferrer out wide to the right. 2nd and 9. Block looks over the middle. He's got his man. That's the tight end, I believe, number 82. That's Grashorn.
Dave Grashorn, the tight end, right?
That'll move the chains for JP Stevens. They trail 14-0 with 4:10 left here in the third period.
Second first down of this period, half, and only the fourth of the game for the Hawks. Well, East Brunswick will be spreading it out just a little bit now. You might expect something like this.
Block, hands off to McKenzie, and McKenzie goes nowhere.
I'll tell you.
First hit by Pichar.
Give me this kid Wolf Skill for my team. He, again, he's the first one there making that tackle, number 56. And when you think about it, he's just a sophomore. We said it time and time again. They're going to be reckoned with in the future.
A lot of underclassmen on this team.
That'll bring up 2nd and 11 as McKenzie loses a yard. Ball on the Hawks' 43-yard line.
Now Ferrero is split wide to the left. You have to watch him here.
Block, little spin, keeps, and he gets to the line of scrimmage. Bringing up 3rd down.
It is so apparent that East Brunswick is well prepared for this team this afternoon. Just the way every player is.
Everybody's swarming.
Yeah, they're swarming and they're staying in the places where they're supposed to, taking just enough chances and coming up with big plays.
You're right.
They give Block a yard, so it'll be 3rd and 10. Settle now comes wide right.
East Brunswick should be charging on this.
Block looking. He's going to throw deep, and he's just throwing for a spot.
He's just throwing, period.
Exactly, and credit the defensive rush with Block forced to throw that probably a little sooner than he wanted to.
Well, he threw it even a little sooner than he had to. Yeah. Defense was coming in, but clearly they weren't that close to him.
But he shook, really. I mean, he has not had a comfortable afternoon here. The line has been in all the time. Block really hasn't been able to get out. And I'll tell you what, you got a tired defense for East Brunswick, but they're doing the job.
Ferrero now back to punt. Pilato and Casanelli are back for the Bears. Another high snap. Ferraro pulls it down. Good kick for Stevens as that ball's going to roll inside the 15-yard line. And East Brunswick will be deep in their own territory. Well, Ferraro's had more action catching the snap from center than he has catching passes today.
You know, you like East Brunswick to field those punts because they've lost about 10 yards on that as a result. But really, the way they've moved the ball, especially in that first drive, I think they feel confident that no matter where they get it, they're going to be able to move, just pick up that yardage. We'll have to watch here.
Well, the one time they did field the punt, results weren't too good.
That's right.
1st and 10 from their 14. The Bears take over on offense. This is Pilato. He'll pick up 3.
Right, the surge of the offensive line is starting to tell for East Brunswick.
Second and 7, ball on the East Brunswick 16. They lead 14-0. Rulo, he'll cross the 20 and bring up a 3rd down. So East Brunswick content to grind it out, and it's working. 3rd and 3. Ball on the East Brunswick 21. 1 minute left here in the third period as White rolls to his right, finds a little room, and then is dropped just short of the line of scrimmage.
So John, they're stopped there. And we will see Staley on the punt.
Not as a criticism, I just wonder, you're picking up yards right up the middle, straight ahead. Why go outside?
Because Stevens is expecting it.
But they haven't stopped it in the last 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Staley back to punt. Block and settle back deep for the Hawks. Good snap. Flag is thrown.
Watch the run back here.
And the punt's going to be down by East Brunswick. See what the flag is. Procedure against East Brunswick.
Jeez.
I don't know if Stevens wants to.
They have good field position. They're in East Brunswick territory.
It's the best field position they've had for most of the day.
Really, I think there's only 10 seconds left in this quarter. I think they need to get the ball and move.
Stevens will decline it.
It's awful inviting to to accept the penalty, Phil. You have the block possibility, and of course, anytime you have a punt center snap, it's been an adventure a couple of times for East Brunswick this year.
But the simple fact of the matter, this is some of the best field position Stevens has had all day, so they better take it.
All right, Stevens will come out I formation, 1st and 10.
And they're going to try to get this play off.
Clock winding down, 3 seconds. Darnowski, and now he's thrown it deep.
Ooh.
And Johnson's right there.
Boy, I'll tell you what. Varnell Johnson, who was on that, was complaining of a face mask, and I think he had a little case there.
He might have, but give him credit for super coverage there.
Yes, he was. Boy, we've only seen him in a couple instances, and a couple of times it was, he recovered a play that went for a loss, and he fumbled the ball, but you have to like his tenacity and the way he likes to hit.
You have to like his tenacity, and if Marcus Borden is going to say at this point in time that the young man has the potential of a Derrick Rowe or a Mark Harmon, then he's got to be a good one.
Exactly. Now you see him, he stands 5'8" and 140, which admittedly is not a lot of bulk and size for a varsity football player. But
speed
he's only
is
a
the
sophomore.
great equalizer.
Speed, and give him a little bit of time and a weight program, and you're going to see him up to 160 pounds, and we'll have to see how he goes.
Well, Jimmy, he's about the same size as John, and of course John was a star with Miami Dolphins. Let him tell it.
That's right. Someone had to play before Jim Kick got there and Larry Zonka. And I'm 5'8", 140. I take exception to that comment.
Florida Flash, we call you.
All right, the last 12 minutes are about ready to get underway. Stevens will have it 2nd and 10. The ball on the East Brunswick 45. And Darnowski will drop back in a shotgun. 2 receivers are to the right for Stevens. Darnowski looking, pumps. He's throwing it out to the outside. Johnson's there. He knocks it down.
Oh, great play.
Was great. Boy, I'll tell you what, Darnowski got nailed. You had a rush there from Bernardi and Pachar.
I tell you, Varnell Johnson, I believe, coming up with another great play. And of course, we see Darnowski in there. He is the passing quarterback, and clearly he passes much better than block.
But East Brunswick's ready for it.
Phil, the other thing, too, is Johnson looking back into the sun. Tough play for the young man.
Very tough play and made it. So that's all you can ask.
To bring up 3rd and 10 for the Hawks.
Johnson in a kind of free safety situation.
Roaming to the strong side.
Darnowski stays as the quarterback. As Phil said, mainly because of his arm. Drops straight back, being pressured. He's dropped. Pechar and Bernardi right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Pachar, he just blew over the back for Stevens. I guess it was John Cozy.
Well, I asked Tony Simonelli, I said, with 2 quarterbacks with Block and Darnowski, aren't you a little predictable, knowing that Darnowski's going to pass the ball when he comes in? He says, no, because it doesn't always happen. Block can pass and Darnowski can run. But clearly, the Bears knew what they were going to do.
Yeah, they didn't have a chance.
Ferraro will punt. Again, Casanelli and Pilato back for East Brunswick. But ball bounces this time. Almost blocked.
Nice kick.
Casanelli from his 20 fakes the reverse. Looking to get to the outside, and he'll get up around to the 25.
And something amazing, we didn't see a flag.
And Lung, number 39, almost blocked that punt.
I'll tell you what I was thinking. This is the 3rd consecutive punt attempt that they haven't fielded cleanly at all. I'm not so sure I wouldn't have had several people coming. After the first one, maybe not. After the second one, then they clearly don't have it down. I might have had several people coming to try to get that ball.
Well, John, with less than 11 minutes to play, I think ball control is the name of the game here.
1st and 10 for the Bears on their own 25. Rulo picks up 3.
And the Bears can afford to take their time now. They should not be rushing to get back to the huddle.
2nd and 7. Ball spotted on the East Brunswick 28. They lead 14-0 as we enter the 4th period. Again, that wishbone backfield. Rulo again. Maybe picks up a yard.
I'll tell you, versatility is something. Being able to do a number of things really helps the team. Bob DeMarco, we saw him down in the press box, and I got to believe that he's sitting there smiling, watching the East Brunswick run up the middle. The middle happens to be the strongest part of the Madison Central team, perhaps certainly stronger than the last 2 years. So East Brunswick can adapt, though.
Well, I think off this performance that we're seeing thus far, East Brunswick has some more confidence in themselves.
White running around, looks like Fran Tarkinen back there, looking for some help.
Throw it away.
Do something, he's going to keep it.
And he should stay in bounds.
And he picks up a yard, and a flag is thrown, and maybe a late hit.
Well,
Jim, you got that look on your face like what's going on. But I'll tell you, John and I were there last week at Piscataway, and Troy White reversed his field totally, came up and fired on a run, hitting R.J. Davis.
Right, for the touchdown.
As fine a play as we've seen. So he has the ability to do it, but I'm sure Marcus doesn't want to see him do it that often.
Oh, if anything, he's out of breath. That was not a flag, John. I guess the official was throwing his cap at the point where White went out of bounds.
Well, he picks up a yard to bring up 4th down, and Staley.
I think Troy wasted 30 seconds just running with the ball.
Timeout, East Brunswick a little confused.
Well, we had Wolfskill coming from the sidelines a little bit late. About time he hit the line, he didn't know the count. And,
right, and count the number of players on the field for East Brunswick, and you'll also find out why they called timeout.
There are 23 out there at the moment.
And here comes the extra player.
So with 9:30 left in the game, East Brunswick will take a timeout. Marcus Borden goes out to talk to the troops.
Well, if I tell you what happens there, Marcus is also saying, listen, there's a point in time where if you're sitting out on the field and it's hard for a young man to figure, but and it's late, you got to make a U-turn and turn around.
Exactly. You know, I was deep in thought about Madison Central, which is why I lost count of track of White running with the ball. But you do bring up some interesting points, Phil, about the confrontation that we're looking forward to next week when Madison Central, with a current 22-game winning streak, comes here to J. Doyle Field for what should be an interesting game now. I think East Brunswick has to be quite pleased with the defensive effort that they've had this afternoon, showing a lot of fronts. You mentioned, Phil, that East Brunswick has been going up the middle, but don't they also have the ability, if they want to go outside?
Well, that's what I talk about, versatility. Good thing that they're versatile, because the middle next week is not where they want to go.
Right.
All right, East Brunswick gets their house in order and gets ready to punt here. Staley, pressure, gets off an outstanding punt. This is Settle at the 35, and he's down at about the 38.
And I'll tell you what, I saw this with Staley in the earlier games when he was able to get the snap right. He was able to get off some kicks. And this is a fine punter for East Brunswick. He really is.
Not only that, he's an advantage for the Bears in that he's a lefty, Jimmy, and that has a reverse spiral with that ball coming down. Most youngsters are used to fielding punts from righties, which with the ball spinning in a different way. So there's going to be some turnovers yet. I've been waiting for it to happen, someone seeing that ball coming down and just mishandling it.
Gets East Brunswick out of trouble.
Stevens will have it 1st and 10 on their own 39. Darnowski stays in at quarterback. The Hawks trailing 14-0.
So
Two receivers out to the left here for the Hawks as they go into the shotgun. Darnowski looks to his left, throws,
boy, I'll tell you what.
And caught. Nice catch by McCann.
We're going to call it a catch, and it'll be a 2-yard gain, but Petchar was in there again.
Petchar was in there, and Scott Kammerer was floating out to the flat. If he would have floated out a little bit more, he would have had 6 points.
I'll tell you what, Tony Simonelli is going to watch these game films, and he's going to wonder what, what was injected into East Brunswick. They really have played spirited the entire game.
Let's call it 2nd and 8. Ball on the Hawk 41. 8:20 left in the game. 2 receivers to the right now for Stevens. Darnowski looking, has some protection, thrown deep down the middle.
Ooh.
And overthrown into the other side, quite honestly.
Darnowski, of course, he hasn't played the entire game, but if he seems to be guilty of just throwing the ball in a preconceived area rather than watching where his receivers go.
I'll tell you what, you want to give Tom German some credit there, though. The young man clearly fought off a potential interference call there. The receiver was right out there under him. He didn't quite know where the ball is, but nevertheless, he didn't bump the young man. So nice heads-up play by him.
3rd and 8 now for J.P. Stevens. Again, they came into this game 3-1. East Brunswick 2-3. Darnowski, shotgun. Has some time, looks over the middle deep and overthrows Ferrero.
Johnson gave a lick on him.
I like him. Hey, hit him anyway.
He really likes to hit, huh? And he's talking to his defensive partners. You notice Borden elects not to put him back. Now we see Wolfskill down, and this is 56
this time.
Phil.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, if the young man was just plumb tuckered out, we could understand it.
Because he's played a hell of a game today. He's been all over.
All the linebackers have been in. And I'm sure talking with Borden, if this score remains, I think he will give the most valuable player to the entire defense. Every one of them has been playing magnificently this afternoon.
Well, at the start of the season, Marcus Borden mentioned that his defense, was the strength, hoping the offense would come around. Certainly the offense has come around, and the defense has played really outstanding games throughout the season thus far. It'll be 4th and 8 now for Stevens as Ferraro goes back to punt. And the duo of Castanelli and Pilato are back. 8:02 remaining in the game. Good snap this time. Ferraro, low kick, line drive. Castanelli's going to let it go. And the ball's going to be down.
Whoa.
Somebody got flattened.
Right.
Brogan, I think that is number 8.
And the lesson
Morgan,
there,
rather.
right? And the lesson is until you hear the whistle
That's right.
blow, you keep your head screwed on tight and wait for a hit. And East Brunswick, I'm sure, will play conservative.
Well, they're going to have a ball control.
Yeah, no need to do anything other than give it to those backs. 7:45, clock going. East Brunswick on their own 22, 1st and 10. And White will sprint to his right. Tries to cut it upfield, picks up a couple.
Well, they stopped the clock now. Why? Okay, here we go.
White picks up a yard, so it'll be 2nd and 9 from the East Brunswick 23. Castanelli. I'm sorry, Christensen straight up the middle.
He gets some good yards.
Yeah. He's a hard running back. Christensen's only a sophomore. So it'll be 3rd and 5 for the Bears. White on the sprint. Gonna keep it. Turns the corner, steps up. He's got the first down. As he crosses the 35-yard line.
I'll tell you, Troy White has taken more hits than any East Brunswick player this year, and any East Brunswick player that you can remember in years gone by. He takes a lot of hits.
Well, he's had a lot of carries today, I'll tell you that much.
First and 10.
That's his 16th.
Rulo met head on right at the line of scrimmage.
Stevens player trying to claim that he took the ball away from Rulo. Of course, the whistle had blown.
So it'll bring up 2nd and 10. The ball spotted at the East Brunswick 37. White, little counter. I think that's Christensen. Sorry, it's Pilato on the carry. Third and 9 for the Bears. Do you put it up in the air? We'll find out. White to his left.
Gets through.
He'll pick up a few, but not enough for the first down.
All right, and he stays in bounds, which is important at this juncture. And East Brunswick will punt the ball, taking their time, no hurry.
Staley comes back out, number 99.
I'll tell you, as you see the teams get ready for the punt.
Looks like we have a flag here. And if it's against East Brunswick, Stevens will have to refuse it.
It's a holding against East Brunswick. Declined.
Now the clock, I believe, moves in high school football if on a refusal of a penalty, and it is. And East Brunswick should use the clock. They really can waste 25 seconds here.
Staley, another high kick. Goes out of bounds at about the 35-yard line, well, short of the 35. So Stevens will have 4 minutes and 32 seconds to work with. They trail 14-0. And as we mentioned, next week East Brunswick will play host to Madison Central. Undefeated.
At this point anyway.
And always tough.
Right, they, at the time of this taping, Madison Central will head to Saraville for tonight's game. Saraville is 1-3, I believe.
Well, the simple point is that if Saraville beats Madison, I'll run from Madison to Saraville. Put that on the record, okay?
You'll run from, let's ante up the stakes a little higher than that, Phil.
With us on your back. Darnowski
we'll
from the
relate that
shotgun.
to Sal Mastretta.
High snap. Darnowski pulls it down, being pressured, steps out of the pocket. Still on his feet.
Ooh.
And he'll pick up 5 yards. But the clock is running. 5 yards is not what they need at this point. They trail 14-0, down to 4:10 left in the game. So Phil will walk from Saraville to Madison Central with us on his back.
Run.
Oh, he'll run with us on his back.
He's going to run.
Second and 5, ball at the 44 for J.P. Stevens, their own 44. Darnowski, short drop, looks over the middle, throws outside. He's got his man. That's Grashorn.
Okay, but what you see happening, the Bears clearly don't want to give up anything long, so they're allowing Stevens to get something slightly underneath, but they're certainly not going to let them break for the long one. Trying to contain them, basically.
That'll be a first down for J.P. Stevens. Ball at their own 47. Darnowski from the shotgun. Low snap.
Here comes Petchar.
Being pressured again up the middle. Gets away.
Ooh.
Johnson.
Ooh, dangerous. I got to believe Johnson lost it in the sun because he reached up and it hit the Stevens receiver right in the chest.
Looked like both of them were kind of blinded by the sun.
Well, I think Borden has found himself a defensive back. Really, Johnson's rather brash back there, willing to take a few chances.
Takes a few chances, right? Sometimes it's going to pay off, and sometimes you're going to get burned.
Right, he will learn by that.
2nd and 10. Nothing surprising
Phil,
here with the
exactly.
Stevens offense. Darnowski steps up, will run with it,
Ooh.
and he'll pick up 8 yards.
You know, watching Johnson, he kind of reminds me of a young Mark Harmon, Phil. The way he's very aggressive out there.
Right.
And an injured player for East Brunswick. Official timeout. Is that Rulo?
Can't quite tell, John.
Well, this is going to put the GMC Red Division race in an interesting situation in the sense that Madison Central now should clearly have the advantage if they can, as Phil says, win tonight over Saraville. That should keep them as the only undefeated team in the conference. Stevens was unbeaten in the conference coming into this game, so now they will drop out of the ranks. And East Brunswick can really cause some trouble here.
For a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, as you look at the young man still lying down there, we hope he's all right. It is Rulo.
Yeah.
Tony Simonelli and Marcus Borden started their head coaching careers at the same time in Middlesex County. And their records are pretty close. Simonelli's record as of today, after today, will be 48-17-1. Marcus's record will be 46-19-1. Pretty even.
Right. Although, can I differentiate just a bit?
Oh, you want to talk about a few state champions?
2 Central Jersey Group 4 championships
what's
for
a few
Simonelli.
championships?
You can ask Marcus Borden that. He'll tell you what it means.
Okay.
3rd and 2 for the Hawks as clock starts again. They're on to East Brunswick 39. Darnowski to the outside.
Whoops. Watch.
And overthrows DeGennaro. And the young man's going after the ball.
After the ball. I like that. Get off our track with those spikes.
That's what Frank Knoppenberger's saying.
Charlie King, he's probably going out after him.
Here comes Charlie now running across the field.
It's been a long game for us as well, as you can tell.
Yeah. Some more notable notes. This is going to be the 4th consecutive victory for East Brunswick over Stevens' team. I wonder when that has happened to J.P. Stevens.
4th and 2, outside to Grashorn, first down.
It is a first down. Jim, I can't believe you haven't mentioned our soccer teams.
Oh, we will give it their due. I'll tell you what.
I mean, gosh, I can't believe it.
Well, I'll mention them now. The girls' team, of course, 11-0 at this juncture. And just a bevy of scoring on the part of Teresa Rossi, leading the team with 13 goals, 10 assists. Lisa Raby with 10 goals, 5 assists. She's a freshman. Karen Bishop, another freshman, with 7 goals. And Amy Meckelberg has 6 goals. And the defense has been led by Chris Farrell, who, in my opinion, is an all-state candidate. Sarah Bishop, Ann Yang, and Amy Manuel, Lauren Korf in goal. So some fine players for the girls.
What about Dan Hastings' team?
And they're rolling along, too. An important game tomorrow night against St. Joseph's to continue their string. They're also 11-0. Are they not, John?
Yep. And we'll be here covering that game tomorrow night against St. Joe's here on Channel 8. Your home for sports.
I'll tell you, year in, year out, the Bears do it. When you consider that both of their soccer teams are undefeated, the girls being #1 in the state, and the boys ranked very high as well, and their tennis team having lost but 1 game, they just have an super all-around program. You got to give them credit.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. When you look at overall athletic programs in the state, East Brunswick has to rank up there as the top 1 or 2.
You know, I guess we're about ready to start here, but just another mention for that soccer team. 2 of the players on that team, Alex Gaffin and Joel Hankin, both scored over 1,500 on their college boards and are ranked 4th. Well, Hankin is ranked #1 in his class, I believe, and Gaffin is #4.
1st and 10 for the Hawks on the East Brunswick 31. They have 2:56. Darnowski looking, being pressured now. Rolls to his right. Still looking for someone. Throws it over the middle and short. Intended for a Grashorn. Guy's not for anything, but if Stevens puts one in here, there's some time on the clock.
Right. And it looks like they're going with no, I thought they were going to go with no huddle there for a moment.
Well, the incomplete pass stops the clock, so it's
Right.
2nd and 10.
East Brunswick, of course, spread out.
Darnowski. He's going to be dropped for a major loss, and that was Christensen, 34, the first one to grab him.
Right, Bernardi comes in and finishes him off.
Clock running, 2:34.
That was a big one. That was about a 10-yard loss at least.
3rd and 10, no huddle.
3rd and 20.
3rd and 22, rather. Darnowski needs some help.
No one open.
He throws it up. This is a jump ball. And I believe it's intercepted.
I believe so.
Johnson is signaling, and there's the official call.
Number 28 for East Brunswick.
And
That's Tom Germain.
And I tell you, Tom's played an all-around fine game today. We've mentioned his name several times, and he's just played a super game today.
Right, and a lot of nice scenes out there. You can see Todd Petchar coming off. He's totally exhausted, and I don't blame him. He's been running down that quarterback for Stevens all afternoon. Really just a great effort by the defense this afternoon.
So the Bears will have it 1st and 10, 2:09 and running on their own 20.
And one first down here ought to do it.
Pilato spins his way for a couple.
And I would not be at all surprised if Stevens just sort of relents here. They've given it their all this afternoon, and it appears as though the game's out of reach now. Really not stopping the clock. Do they have any timeouts left?
Oh, I think they have all their timeouts.
No, they used 2, John.
Did they?
Yeah, during these last drives.
Okay. Rulo back to the line of scrimmage, clock down to 1:25.
Now East Brunswick is really not wasting any time here as they could. So you've got 1:17 at that. Okay, now Stevens calls timeout.
Injured player on the field. Charles Wright, number 52, is down.
There's 1 minute and 16 seconds left in the ball game. Please be careful driving off campus.
Just another thought, next Friday night's game is going to be the last home game for a lot of East Brunswick seniors.
That's right.
They will be on the road for their remaining, I guess, 2 games it is.
Bayonne and Saraville, yes.
And I tell you, as you look at Tony Simonelli, looking at the injured young player there, Tony Simonelli's story in and of itself, of course, played for Rutgers University between 1959 and 1963. In 1961, he was the captain of the undefeated Rutgers team. And he said, yes, he was the captain. He was the 3-year starter, Jimmy, and captain that 1961 team. So he's local in that sense and has done well. Said he's always wanted to coach football. Spent what, 19 years as an assistant coach under Joe Katowski, right? And he said he loved every minute of it. And if Joe was still around, he'd still be willing to be an assistant coach. I guess that says a lot about a former coach.
Well, Rutgers could use him now.
Yeah, the Scarlets Knights are falling on some hard times.
Jim, question I want to ask you while we have some time. Brian Forte has gotten some playing time with the University of Miami. I guess my question to you is, does that mean his redshirt eligibility is up?
I believe it does. The NCAA has some specific guidelines as to how many games a player can get into the game and then lose his redshirt status. But I think, let's see, I think Forte has been in 2 games thus far, and he is hovering close to the point where he will lose his eligibility. I think it has to do with number of times that he plays, and he can, of course, declare the year as a redshirt.
I haven't quite got that number. Looks like
I think it's 52, Phil.
52?
Right, yeah.
Charles Wright.
Charles Wright. Well, you know.
But you're right, though, Phil. I mean, it is a consideration.
It is a consideration, and when you consider that University of Miami and Notre Dame seem to be on a collision course, and Brian Forte could be one sack away from being in that game,
Yeah.
it's really got you salivating.
Yeah. Did have the opportunity to hear Brian's remarks on the radio. WCTC placed a call down to him midweek a couple of weeks ago, and Brian feels very, very confident. He would, of course, like to retain his red shirt status this year, but he realizes the situation that he's in, being just one snap away from being the first-string quarterback. But he knows, and he says that one of the nice things about learning is that he goes up against one of the top defenses in the country at practice. That being the Miami. So that's a good learning experience for him there. And he, of course, is a quick learner. He has the tools, as we know. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to the day that we're going to see him as the first-string quarterback at Miami for real.
Speaking about that Miami defense, the Dolphins could probably put them out, use those guys out there. That's for John.
The Miami Dolphins lead the National League in quarterback sacks. I just wanted to make mention of that.
And John Offeldahl was just signed, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah. Jim, while we look at the young man still down, you weren't there last week, but John and I saw the Piscataway quarterback, and he must have been out on that field for about 15 minutes easily. And
they're taking their time.
And they were very careful and took their time, and they took the young man off with the neck brace and everything else. We're hoping this isn't a repeat of it. You hate to see any time a player goes down, but injury is a part of the game, and all you can do is hope that the young man's okay.
Right, and reflecting a bit on this, what we believe is going to be an East Brunswick victory here this afternoon, I can't say enough about how this team has rebounded from some tough times early in the season. They were knocked out of the playoffs by Edison and then by Perth Amboy, the game that we televised here 2 weeks ago. That could have been it as far, and you kind of felt, well, you know, the player's perspective would be coming out and practicing for 5 more games that really didn't mean anything, yet they've come back and they've done a lot.
Well, let me ask you this, Jimmy. There's talk about power points. Are you sure that they're absolutely out?
Well, from my understanding is you have to have a minimum of 12 points, 2 points for a victory at the 8-game cutoff mark. And I don't believe that East Brunswick can do that.
I see. Okay.
So they're pretty much out of it. Now, the only way that they could get in is if there are less than 4 teams with the minimum number of power points, and then you revert to a power point structure, if you will, in which case East Brunswick would certainly be in the picture because they play nothing but Group 4 teams.
Well, we want to report that Charles Wright is up and walking off under his own power.
Good.
And that's a good sign. And you see the players starting to stretch a little bit. It's kind of cool out here today, and they're standing in the shade, as you can see on your sets. We have 1:16 left in the game. East Brunswick on top 14-0. They're also in possession of the ball. It's 3rd and 6 on their own 25.
So the clock resumes with 1:15.
It'll be 3rd down and 6 for the Bears.
Troy White.
And he's not going to make it, but...
So we're inside a minute. The clock is running.
I think of all the little things. After such a long layover, I'm not so sure I want Troy Wright carrying that ball. I mean, you're tight. He's been hit a lot. I might have given it to someone else, but you also want to hold on to the ball, too.
Well, we're down to 38 seconds now. 4th and about 2, and East Brunswick's going to go for it.
This is quite interesting.
White will keep it, has the first down, and that should do it.
Right.
And
I
I'll
can see why they did that.
Well,
I didn't realize they were that close to the first.
Well, it's not cockiness neither.
Yeah,
It's just confidence. They feel they can do it.
Yeah, it was a good call. It really was. They only had 2 yards to go, and Stevens still needs 2 touchdowns to win, and that sews the game up right there.
21 seconds remaining.
And they can let the clock go now. They don't have to run a play. good win for the Bears. Really, just an outstanding team effort all the way around, and they're going to take this one home and bring their record up now to 3-3.
Right.
They'll be 3-3. J.P. Stevens will fall to 3-2, and East Brunswick will take on Madison Central next week here at J. Doyle Field.
Always a satisfying victory anytime you can knock off J.P. Stevens. And the ball is handed to Marcus Borden, who goes over and will shake hands, as you see there, with Tony Simonelli.
And I tell you, those are two guys that really have respect for each other. Simonelli is a class act and probably one of the most likable coaches in the county, and he's done a good job. Always graceful in defeat.
John, I look forward to next Friday night's game with Madison Central. I think Bob DeMarco and his staff from Madison Central have a lot to look at here this afternoon with East Brunswick's really almost flawless game when you think about it. They played very, very well all the way around, both sides of the ball.
Well, if you're Marcus Borden, you have to be happy. This team is starting to peak. This is the time you want to meet Madison Central. Everyone seems to be healthy. Their offense is in gear. Certainly their defense is playing tougher and tougher each week. Couldn't ask for a better time to match up with the Spartans.
That's right, and Marcus even has something he hasn't shown yet. Varnell Johnson on offense. I think he could have let him get some plays this game, but I think he wanted to hold him till Madison Central to have perhaps maybe a little surprise speed-wise.
Well, we'll be back here next week, J. Doyle Field, to bring you that Madison Central East Brunswick game. And until then, for Phil Hill and Jim Allinder, I'm John Meggiolaro saying thanks for being with us.